Hi guys, and welcome to the video for the week 7 spiral worksheet. The corrections for the spiral will not be as long as last week because as you see we have shortened our spiral. As we're going through, make sure you carefully enter your answers into the Edpuzzle and that you're making full corrections for all of the ones that you missed. Not just writing the correct answer, but putting the work that goes with it. Monday. A recipe for snack mix calls for 4 3/4 cups of cereal. The amount of peanuts needed is 1 2/3 cups less than the amount of cereal needed. Complete each box below to make a true statement. The recipe calls for blank cups of peanuts. All right, so for this problem, let's go ahead and highlight important information. The recipe calls for 4 3/4 cups of cereal, and the amount of peanuts is 1 2/3 cups less than the amount of cereal. So to figure out how many cups of peanuts, we're going to be subtracting because I see the words less than. So over here, I am going to do my work, and I'm going to take the amount of cereal, which is 4 3/4, and I'm going to subtract 1 2/3. And that'll give me how many cups of peanuts. So different denominators means a different problem. We're going to come up with the LCD of 4 and 3, which is 12. And if your denominator changes, your numerator has to change. So I multiplied 4 by 3 to get 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then I multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12, and 2 times 4 is 8. So now I can subtract 9/12 minus 8/12 is 1/12, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So the recipe calls for 3 1/12 cups of peanuts. Part 2. A total of blank cups of peanuts and cereal are needed in all. Okay, so again, a keyword that tells us what we're going to do is we're trying to find the total of how many cups of peanuts and cereal are needed in all. So total and in all both tell us that we're going to be adding. So what I want to do is I want to take the 4 3/4 cups of cereal, and I want to add the 3 1/12 cups of peanuts, and then we'll have how many cups are needed in all. So LCD is going to be 12 again. Bottom fraction won't change. Top fraction, I multiplied 4 by 3 to get 12, and 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to add 9 plus 1 is 10/12, and 4 plus 3 is 7. We want to put our answer in lowest terms, so I can divide 10 and 12 by 2, and then I'm going to get 7 and 5/6, and so 7 and 5/6 cups of peanuts and cereal are needed in all. I'm just going to go down and do Wednesdays next. It says, JJ needed to withdraw money from his savings account to buy tickets to the zoo for himself and 7 of his friends. Each ticket costs $5. What multiplication expression represents the situation? Okay, so we want to write a multiplication expression that represents the situation. So we know that he's buying tickets for himself and 7 friends. So 7 friends plus him equals 8 total tickets. And they are $5 each, so we can write this as 8 times 5 or 5 times 8. Part 2, use the symbols to model the situation on the number line. Okay, so for this over here on the side, you see a point and a little curving arrow. So to model this on a number line, let's go ahead and we're going to start at 0. And so if he is getting 8 tickets and each one is costing 5, this actually would be 8 times -5. So then we are going to, actually, you know what, back up here. I'm going to add that in. Since he's spending $5, this should be 8 times -5 for the correct answer. So then modeling this on a number line, we are going to go -5 or go 5 to the left 8 times. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. That's where we end up. So write an integer to represent the total withdrawal. That integer, since we land on 40, on -40, would be -40. Next part, Morgan drove from Los Angeles at an elevation of 330 feet to Death Valley at an elevation of -282 feet. What is the difference in elevation between Los Angeles and Death Valley? All right, so we want to know the difference in elevation between LA and Death Valley. Remember, difference means to subtract. So the elevation of LA is positive 330. Oops. And we're going to subtract Death Valley's elevation, which is -282. So looking at my signs here, I have a keep flip change situation. So I'm going to rewrite this as 330 plus 282. And I'm going to add, and I will get a total 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 3 is 11, carry the 1. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So the difference is 612 feet. Tuesday, the table shows the number of teaspoons of vanilla needed to make different batches of cookies. Select one box from each row to describe how to find the number of teaspoons of vanilla needed to make n batches of cookies. So if we just take a look over here at the table, first of all, it's showing one batch is 1/4 of a teaspoon, 2 batches, 1/2, 3 is 3/4, 4 is 1, 3 is 1 1/4. So go ahead and take a look, find a pattern, and complete the following problems. All right, so as I'm looking, we are adding 1/4 repeatedly. So it's repeatedly adding 1/4. So another way that you could think of this is that adding repeated addition is multiplication. So like I'm seeing, if I were to do, so take this one right here. If I were to do 2 times 1/4, that would give me 2/4, which is 1/2. If I were to do 3 times 1/4, that would give me 3/4, which is how many? If I did 4 batches times 1/4, that would give me 1/1 or 1 teaspoon. So that means row 1, we are going to multiply 1/4 by n to get our answer. Second part, how many teaspoons of vanilla are needed to make 6.5 batches of cookies? So again, we found that we're multiplying 1/4 by however many batches there are. So we could write 1/4 times 6.5 or 6.5 times 1/4. And so when I change the mixed number to an improper, I'm going to get 13/2 times 1/4. And I can't cross divide, so I'm going to multiply and get 13/8. We want to write it into a mixed number, So 8 goes into 13 once with 5 left over. So for that, we would need 1 5/8 teaspoons. Thursday, Part A. Yesterday, Pablo had 4 4/9 quarts of iced tea, and Rosa had 3 5/12 quarts iced tea. Part A. How much more iced tea did Pablo have than Rosa? Okay, so how much more tells us that we're going to find the difference or subtract. So I went ahead and did 4 4/9 minus 3 5/12. My LCD was 36, so I adjusted my numerators, and then I got 16 minus 15, which is 1 over 36, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So how much more iced tea? He had 1 and 1 over 36, 1/36 more quarts. Part B. Pablo gave Rosa 1/6 of his iced tea today. How much iced tea do they each have now? So we had to come up with 2 answers for this. So what I did first is I saw that Pablo is giving Rosa some of his iced tea. He's giving away 1/6. So that means he's losing. So that's why I went and subtracted with that one. And so I did 4 4/9 minus 1/6 and then adjusted my numerators, and I got that he now has 4 5/18 quarts. Now on the other hand, Rosa is getting additional iced tea, so that's why I added 1/6 to what she already has. So I adjusted my denominators and my numerators and then added my numerators. And so she now has 3 7/12, and then I want to add quarts to that. All right, so we are halfway through. We're on to the back, and I thought I would reward you with a cute picture of my puppy. So go ahead, turn the page, and now we're back on our perimeter and area review worksheet. Make sure that you are making full corrections on the ones that you missed. Again, a full correction is not just writing the answer, it's putting the work that goes with your new answer. Number 1, here is a triangle in which we know the length of 2 of the sides, 7.4 centimeters and 10.42 centimeters. Its perimeter measures 29.3 centimeters. What is the length of the third side? All right, so for this triangle, we're trying to figure out the length of the third side, and we're given some information. We're told that one side is 7.4 centimeters. I'm just going to label this as 7.4 centimeters. Doesn't really matter. And then another one's 10.42. And then we're told that the perimeter is 29.3 centimeters. And we want to know the length of the third side. So a triangle has 3 sides. So what we can do is we can add the 2 sides that we know and then subtract that from the perimeter and get what our measurement is. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 2 I know, 10 42 hundredths plus 7 4/10, lining up the decimals, and I'll get a 2, an 8, a 7, and a 1. So I have 17 82 hundredths. That's the sum of the 2 sides. So now to figure out the third side, I'm going to take the total perimeter, which is 29 3/10 centimeters. I'm going to subtract that 17 82 hundredths. Put a little 0 there. So borrow from the 3, make it 2. 10 minus 8, or I'm sorry, 10 minus 2 is 8. Got to borrow from the 9, make it an 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. 8 minus 7 is 1. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So that right there is our third side. And so it's going to be 11 48 hundredths centimeters. Number 2, Austin has a square pool that measures 6 meters on each side. The pool is surrounded by a cement border that measures half meters, 0.5 meters. The question is, what is the area of the cement border? Not including the pool, of course. Make sure you read the hint because that can help you to solve this. Okay, so the hint says find the area consisting of the pool and the cement border and then subtract the area of the pool alone. So that's what I have my work for here. First, the pool with the border. So the pool is 6 by 6. And then we have the border that we see is half of it, half meter. So what I did is I added 6 plus 0.5 and got 6.5. So with the border, side times side, 6.5 times 6.5, which is 42 and 25 hundredths meters squared. Then I found the pool without the border, and so without the border, it's just 6 by 6, which is 36 meters squared. So I'm not done yet. I want to know the area of just the cement border. So I'm going to take the full thing, which is 42 and 25 hundredths, and I'm going to subtract 36. Line up my decimals. And can't do 2 minus 6, so I borrow. 12 minus 6 is 6. So my answer, I'll write it down here where I have room. Oops. It will be 6 and 25 hundredths meters squared. Final answer. Number 3, this figure is made by placing a triangle with a height of 3 inches on the small side of a rectangle that measures 6 inches by 17 inches. What is the area of this figure? Okay, so it's made up of a triangle and a rectangle. So we can label the parts. It says that the height is 3 inches. So that right there, height is 3 inches. And that the rectangle measures 6 by 17. So obviously that side is 17. And that means this is 6, if I can write it. Okay, so we're going to find the area of the triangle, then the area of the rectangle, and we're going to add them together. So for the triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. When I substitute my values, the base is going to be 6, and I'm going to multiply by 3, but then I want to divide the whole thing by 2. So when I come up here, I'm going to do 6 times 3 first. So I'm going to have 18. I'm going to divide that by 2. And so the area right there is going to be 9 inches squared. So that's just for the rectangle though. I have to also do it for, or I'm sorry, that's for the triangle. I have to do it for the rectangle. So rectangle area is length times width. And so substituting my values, I'm going to do 17 times 6 or 6 times 17, doesn't matter. And then when I multiply, I'm going to get 102 inches squared. So final step, we're going to add these together because it is a composite figure. I have 102 plus 9, and that is going to give me 111 inches squared. All right, number 4, a large square table with a perimeter of 787 centimeters is made up of 4 small square tables. If I take away one of the small square tables, what will be the perimeter of my new table? Okay, so it's a square table with a perimeter of 787 centimeters. So if we're going to take one of them away, we want to then figure out what our new perimeter or the distance around the outside of this table will be. So what we need to do first is figure out the length of one side, because that's going to be the length of all the sides because it's a square. So since a square has 4 sides, if I just take 787 and I divide by 4, I will get the length of one side. So this is going to give me 98.375. Just kidding. That's the next step. When I divide by 4, it is going to give me 196.75 on each side. Okay, so my new figure, my help to draw that, I have the 3 sides and I'm taking one side out. So let's still look at what all the sides are. This 196.75. So I have 196.75, 196.75 on those sides. Those are the whole sides. But down here, one square was taken out. So I'm going to do 196.75 divided by 2 to figure out what these new parts are going to be, because it's half of that. So when I divide by 2, that's when I get 98.375. So that's 98.375. That's 98.375. And then if I'm going from one side into the center, this is also going to be the same measurement. And then same with here is going to be the same measurement. So if I go ahead and I add up all of these sides, guess what? I am still going to end up that the perimeter is 787 centimeters. So taking that one square out did not change the perimeter. All right, guys, so that is the end of the spiral. And just to end the spiral, here is another picture of my dog with his new toy that he got today. We will see you next week for the week 8 spiral.